Welcome back. Time to round up one of our big stories from the week. High-speed rail connecting Dallas to Houston could become a reality in less than a decade. Mayor Anise Parker, along with the mayors from Dallas and Fort Worth, have announced their support for the privately funded rail. They say it will cut the trip between Houston and Dallas to 90 minutes, and create thousands of jobs. An environmental impact study will begin in the next few weeks to determine the route. If all goes well, commuters could be riding the rail by the year 2021. So is this idea too far-fetched, or is it just what the state needs? Joining us live in our newsroom is our legal analyst, Chris Tridico, news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst Jackie Valley. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
All right, so according to the mayors, 50,000 people travel between Houston and Dallas more than once a week. Is that enough to support this project?
It absolutely is. As you look at projected trends for population growth in Texas and in Houston alone, then we really need to start focusing on modes of transportation other than cars and other than planes. And so the only thing left is rail. High-speed rail is something we should have been paying closer attention to for a very, very long time. Rick Perry came out with an idea, I guess about 10 years ago, that was roundly discredited, not because it wasn't a bad idea, but because of the way Rick Perry approached that. Jackie Valley, the Texas, I can't remember the name of it now.
Trans-Texas Corridor.
Trans-Texas Corridor was killed by the legislature because I think it was the way Rick Perry rolled it out. But I think this is a good idea. Your thoughts?
This is a great idea. We tried to attempt something like this 20 years ago under Kathy Whitmire's administration. And one of the reasons it failed back then is because they were not actively into public education as they are now. They form a very good alliance with TxDOT officials, federal officials, and now, as you've seen, the mayors of the 3 major cities have signed on. And I think the key will have to be making sure that the rural areas in between the 3 cities are also on board. And with that alliance of those 3, you will see a much better attempt and a much better advantage of getting something like this through. And most importantly, it's privately funded. And because a lot of people are going to say, are we using public dollars? Are we using tax dollars? But this is going to be privately funded, and that will help a lot too.
And that was going to be the point I was going to bring up. The fact that the Mayor Whitmire, Mayor Parker, and these other mayors are pushing a plan that brings in private dollars to do this. It's going to be a mix, I'm sure, but private dollars to do this makes it a more sellable deal.
Yeah, and it's time. Like Sally was talking about, 50,000 people use it to go between Dallas and Houston now. 100,000 people per day are going on I-45. So think about the traffic that goes on I-45 between Houston and Dallas, and if you're able to take some of that traffic off and put it on a bullet train, and rather than driving 4 hours, you can do it in 90 minutes. It makes a lot of sense. It's privately funded. It seems like all the right things are being done. So I'm excited. I'm hoping that this happens sooner rather than later.
Let's go to Sally. She's been monitoring our social media accounts.
All right, we've got both sides for you guys. Okay, first, Reginald says, I would ride it, definitely. I could become a season ticket holder for God's favorite team. I guess he's talking about the Cowboys. Only 90 minutes. He says this rail has great potential. Brandy, though, she says studies have shown every high-speed rail system has lost money. There are government grants to initiate the program, she says, but it eventually falls on the state to fund and run the system, which would require more taxes. She doesn't think this is the time in a slow economy to start what she calls a money-hungry project. Your thoughts?
I'm not going to answer the guy that follows a team that's not from around here. So if you like them that much, move. The thing, and the second person brings up an interesting point. We talked about last week about Metro.
Right.
This is not supposed to be a profit-making venture. It may break even at best,
right,
but it's public transportation. It's not a private corporation for profit.
Right. One of the positives about this particular project as well is that they're looking at a lot of models that are used in Asia. And in Japan in particular, they have one of the most successful, economically and efficiently successful rail systems around the world, and that's really what this model will be after. You also have former county judge Eccles, who is heading up the Texas Railway this alliance that's looking at this project. So you have a lot of expertise that's looking at this to make sure that the problems that our viewer mentioned does not happen. Also, there are grants. Whenever you do have a large percentage privately, there are grants to come in and subsidize whatever, maybe the 10% that you may need additionally. But based on what we've seen so far from the various mayors, it will be a large percentage of this will be privately funded.
It's always entertaining to me that people that on the one hand say, don't take federal dollars to expand Medicare, don't take federal dollars for this, and then we're trying to expand the rail system, say, well, the federal government won't pay for it.
Well, there is an attitude in our state and lots of pockets where anything that's large scale, anything that builds infrastructure, anything that even resembles government or establishment is wrong, and we should try to, derail it, for lack of better words. But look, this idea makes a lot of sense. It's privately funded. We're going to need to help this company get consensus across between Dallas and Houston, all of the small towns that it goes through, right? Because here's the issue. Everyone's going to want this train to stop in their town. And the only way you can get there from Dallas to Houston in 90 minutes is if you don't make any stops.
Right. So we'll see where it goes. That's it. We'll be back in a few minutes with another really good topic.
Yeah, really interesting. Okay, we're going to talk about the unionization of college athletes when we see you in our next half hour. Thanks, guys.